Wagwan my Gs. Today I've got another G format deck profile in Prism. Prism's a combo deck built around bouncing and replaying units' value. That value usually being attack or draw cards, gain power, stuff like that. It's probably the best Bermuda Triangle deck in the format for G, and it's got a few good quirks to it. One of the big ones is it needs a special counterblasts, and pretty much needs every single card in the deck to be called Prism. That can be debated with a few cards, which I'll go through. But yeah, starts off, the forerunner is Titus. Titus is forerunner, and GB1, when it boosts a grade 3 or greater unit of Prism in its card name, you can bounce any other Prism unit you control to your hand. So this can set up plays with Labrador, with Garnet on attack, because you want to call 2 to 3, and if you haven't got other bounce ways to get your front row out, your back row maybe, things like late, it can be really quite handy. It's probably the best one. There's a couple grade 3 searches, you don't really need. This deck is very consistent, honestly, and it has Prism in the name, which helps a lot. Next we've got the triggers. This is where some motivate comes in. So things I would probably call inarguable in the deck is 4 Sunshine Clear and 4 Nelum. Sunshine Clear on bounce, you can search for a Vert. Rosewell Clear as well, but Vert is the one you catch. Vert is your break ride, and very important for some of the combos in this deck, which you'll see one of the strides. And Nelum is just an extra bounce during the battle phase, which is, to be honest, really good. Just as you have an end of attack bounce for things that might not have it, like Celtic potentially. And the debated ones. So we've got 4 Irish and 4 Timer. Timer is a Prism, but it can also be the one that has counter charge or soul charge 1 on discard. I prefer the Prism name. I think basically everything in this deck should be called Prism if you can help it, but I understand why if you want the less consistency. Irish is the Prism one. It's not very good, to be honest with you. When it's returned, you can Soul Blast 1 and bench target gets 4,000. It can be used to hit some magic numbers, but the other option is Crook. Crook's at 4 in this format, and it's a Harmony that lets you replay it a bunch. Huge advantage swings, but again, it can matter with the special counterblasts. I understand running Crook. I prefer the added consistency, since this is such a high ceiling deck. Anyway, Crook just feels like you're pushing over the top a little more. Next we've got one of the most important cards in the deck, actually. Not just because it's a Sentinel. It just has the on place, protects the prison. And in the drop zone, you bind it, and one of your Vanguards, this is important, not all of them, one of them, of the limit break 5 abilities change to limit break 4. Now, a lot of this deck is built around limit break 5, so being able to bin one of these is insanely important. Honestly, it can even be worth 4 combo turns, just throwing this away in front of some stuff. If people know you're going to have a combo turn, they might even attack, just to kind of keep you at 4, because if you can keep your 5, it's so important. Even keep your 3 sometimes. This is obviously a break ride deck, so break 4 is extremely important for that. And yeah, next we've got 3 late, 3 arena, and 3 shandy. Shandy is just stride fodder. You want to stride really bad in this deck, and your 3s are pretty important. It'd be 4 because you're not playing Loris. But if it was a Loris deck, I would play 4, but this card doesn't really have a lot of the power that it does on Loris. Loris is a great deck, but it's not Prism, and it's just fodder. We've got 3 Rapina. When this is bounced, you can bounce any Prism and draw a card. So really good. It's counter plus 1, but if you're bouncing probably the best card in the deck, which is late, it doesn't matter the cost, it's just an extra draw. So late, it's when it's returned to hand from R. If you have a Prism Vanguard, you can counterblast, countercharge 1 or soul charge 1, and another unit gets 4k, but you can't normal call it, which means you can still special call it or superior call it. So you could go, Vert, bounce these 2, discard, counterblast 1, draw a card, get 4k, and then late, you countercharge 1, get another 4k, so it's, 4k and a draw for no cost. You just call it again with Labrador, or the like. It cannot be overstated just how important late is in this deck. It's only of 3 because you can actually clog on it. It doesn't return to hand itself, and it's a payoff returning to hand, but it doesn't really combo with anything else. It just has so much value and can really make your combo turns actually go. For the 2s, we've got 4 Celtic, 3 Ayari, and 4 Lumiere. Lumiere is just a 12k attacker, but honestly, that's all it really has to be. There aren't that many grade 2s that are great in Prism, and this has no cost, just 12k. And it's probably one of the best bounce targets for actual damage, because you can, 20k, and then just add it sometimes, that's another 17, bounce it, play it, it just hits good thresholds. Ayari's 3 of, because this is one of the special counterblasts. You have to counterblast a card with Prism, as is Celtic. The old ones do this a lot, but Ayari lets you bounce a Prism on attack, gets 5k, so just a way to trigger things like late, because it makes this a 9k booster, and things like Rapina, which can let you get other things from your thing, like combo attacks. And Celtic is probably the best grade 2. You special counterblast a card Prism on VRR when it hits Vanguard. You can bounce any rear guard and draw a card. That's just extra advantage. Very, very useful. Grade 3s play a lot of them. We've got 2 Prism Garnet, 1 Labrador, 3 Gliss Drumroll, 3 Vert. Virtual Break Ride, you always go into this your first turn if you can help it. Very, very important. Otherwise, we've got Glister Emerald. So, Vert, when it's Break Ride, you bounce 2 community triangles, get 10k and draw a card. Very good. Gliss Drumroll, when something rides or when it strides, this is technically a Break Ride as well. You can pay the cost of Counterblast 1, and now your Vanguard gets, when this unit attacks, you can choose up to 2 rear guards, return them to the hand, and then you can call a card from hand. So that's just another combo turn. Makes the setups with Garnet even easier, because Garnet calls 3, so she bounces 2, and also combos with strides that let you bounce more. On the payoffs you got, so there's a big discrepancy between a lot of deck lists, is 2 Labrador or 2 Garnet versus the other one of 1. I prefer 2 Garnet. Now, 2 Labrador is great, but she's only really that good if you can get the whole call off, and its self bounce is nice, but it's not what you're bringing it for. It's a good push card, that's all it is. Whereas Garnet lets you pay off when things are boosted. You can make things bigger by special counterplasting a Prism when things are returned, and this is the Limit Break 5 thing that matters. So it's one of them at least. So Limit Break 4, when it hits a Vanguard, when it attacks a Vanguard, choose up to 3 cards with Prism in its card name and call them to separate R. So just call 3, and then if you call 3, this unit gets the Limit Break 5, drive +1. Really, really good. Extra drives are important, and this just is a huge swing turn. This and Labrador are insane payoffs, and it's partly why this deck is so good. Again, I can understand 2 Labrador. I've always found 2 Garnet just to be superior in this deck, at least. But I think I will switch between sometimes. It's it's honestly personal preference. I probably will go back to Labrador at some point, but yeah, that's the main deck. A few different options. This deck's very customizable. Then we've got 4 brand new Prism, Shining Garnet. Shining Garnet is crazy good. Limit Break 5, now all of your Prisms get a critical. Just flat up, so this is your main target with Flash Sapphire. There's also, once per turn, Counterblast 1, and then Persona Flip. And you choose an ability from your Heart Card with Prism, and you get its ability. So this could be a Labrador, now you get to call 3 during attack. It could be a Garnet, now you get to call 3 during attack and get extra drive. Could be Glister Emerald even, and now all your units get plus 8k flat. Limit Break 4. Because it can be Vert, that's bad, but yeah, these are insane targets, and this card is probably going to go into when you're trying to push for damage. The combos you can do with these, and attacking, attack 2, bounce your whole board, recall them again, attack again, those will bounce others, those will call others. You can hit 9 attacks pretty comfortably in this deck, and they can all be at 2 critical, and Shining Garnet is a insane card that we got, and it's part of the reason this deck's so good. The other reason is Prism Image Sunshine Vert. So, then Break 4, Persona Flip, and you choose 3 cards in your hand, discard them. At the end of the battle to attack the Vanguard, if you have a Heart card with Prism in its card name, you can pay that cost. If you do, choose up to 2 of your rear guards with Prism in their card name, return them to your hand, put it in your G zone, choose a rear 3 card with Prism in its card name from your hand, and ride it as stand. This card is mad with Vert. Vert, if you're stuck on a Vert and you don't want to break ride this, Sunshine Vert is your best chance of doing it. So you sit on Vert, you know, attack, it's all good, 13, whatever. Stride into Vert, and now you attack, do your thing, because you might have other things. You could even go things like Lester Emerald into Vert, into Sunshine Vert, and now this goes back into G deck, and you just choose, for example, a Labrador. Now you break ride in your battle phase, even faster, even stronger. Now you hit with Labrador. This is now a 31,000 2 critical attacker, and you've got even more damage now. You bring in a Prism Garnet. This is now another triple drive, and it's so many combos. This card just does so much for the deck, and it's obviously slept on. A lot of the time you will go into Shining Garnet, but this is one of the strongest build-arounds in Vanguard, in my opinion, and I love it. It's such a fun card. It has so many different combo lines. You could play different break rides. I've even seen some Prism builds that are just one of every decent ride target, and then every Vert searcher, and you just turbo Sunshine Vert. Notably enough, this also doesn't have a generation break cost, so normally you're going to go into this, then this, but you also don't really have that many generation breaks. You just got most of your rear guards, but your strides don't really have them at all, which is honestly great. It's limit break you're defined by, and that's quite unique in G. We have 2 Kaname. So this is a generation break card. So you cancel blast and choose a face down card with their name, you percent a flip. Choose your rear guards, bounce into your hand on this on attack. If you have a heart card with Prism, again this is why you need so many prisms. If you're facing some rank down stuff, this is also really important. You can summon 2 in the attack step, and then for each face-up card in G you do 2. So first turn this is 2, then it's 4, then it's 6, and that can really ramp up. And for each face-up card in G called separate R, you got 3 or more, it gets critical. So from turn really 4 onwards, if you're going second, this is online for extra critical. It's just a good mid-range threat, and you know, it's something you kind of do when you really can't push through all the damage of the combos you can do. If you're low on resources, Kaname is a great way to do it. Then we have 1 RNG, because it's, to be honest, it's mostly here for Link Joker. Link Joker makes this deck hurt. This deck really hates Link Joker. But, you know, it bounces the circles rather than the actual rares themselves, so close your circles for a push turn. Just a good card, it gets really big. And then I run the Persona, because it's not even just because of the free strides, it's also just because it's an insane effect. When the Guardian is placed, you discard a grade 1 less card from your hand, retire the Guardian. So if you play on the turn right, you can just have half your grade 0s in your hand from all the draws and discards you've done through, you know, through Vert, through extra drives. And this can now have like 8 retires of guards. So late in the game, it's disgusting. It's not just because it's a stride, it's just that good in the card. And 4 generation guards is Leona, Citron, Sandy, and Dismal. They all kind of do the same. You either call or bounce stuff for extra shield. They all do different things. Leona has to call one of the same name. Citron has to call a grade 1 greater half from your hand. If you call the card, it gets 10k, so you can call, if you want to, you can run Honolulu in this deck, and call that during the battle phase, or you can get things like, if you've got another bounce, you can call Irish and then bounce Irish, and that gets an extra 4k. And Sandy just gets massive with how your hand is, and your hand is obviously quite big at the end of combo chains. Dismal just stops things dying. It's just a good generic one. And yeah. This deck is super customizable. I could agree and disagree with almost every change in this deck. I think the core is definitely able to be explored a lot more. I definitely can't wait to. I think it's the best Bermuda Triangle deck of the format. I could understand Riviera being a deck. I could understand a few others in Triangle, but nothing as bodacious as Prism. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, peace.